Hello, friends. Today we are going to discuss persistence. So, if you remember when we attended our microservices classes, there were a lot of terminologies which we couldn't understand, and we just copy pasted all the code what Avinas has given to us. But then later I explored it more and realized that actually there are so many concepts which definitely we need to understand to get the nitty gritty of what actually happening inside. So I actually explored a few videos and few articles and a few books and figure out that what exactly happened inside when we try persistence using Hibernate or JPA or any other JPA provider. So let's understand the life cycle of any object in Java. So whenever actually we create any object, let's say person p equals to new person, when we are actually using this operator to create a new object, then we perform certain operations on it, and then finally actually we destroy it using a garbage collector. But what if we want to persistent persist the values of those objects? Then JPA, Hibernate, and all those things comes into a picture, which can actually help us save the value of the objects into a database. So this can happen through an query like Java SQL provides a lot of packages, but those are very cumbersome. The Hibernate and the JPA has actually done it much easier with the help of a concept called as a persistent context. So persistent context is nothing but a cache. So when we add our entities or when we add our object to those cache, those automatically get committed to the database with the help of Hibernate. Hibernate does it internally. Developer doesn't have to worry about it. So we need to add our entity. So entity we will discuss later that how a class can be converted into entity. So when we add our entity to a persistent persistent context, so for that actually we will have to create an instance of persistent contact, which will also give us entity manager. Like we will be having so many entities, and we will need one manager to manage their states, like coming to the persistent contacts and maybe detaching from it. And there's so many state which we will be discussing soon. So that particular entity manager and the persistent context instance is also called as persistence unit. And in application server or in an application, each persistent unit should be given a unique name. Let's say the person is a unique name of this persistent contact. So and we have got a entity management factory which gives us entity manager. So all those things we will be discussing shortly. So in the nutshell, what we need to understand here that there is a one cache which is associated with respective data source through a Hibernate or any JPA implementation. So when we create any entity, which is actually means object, when we have an entity instance, it can be associated with persistent context instance with the help of entity manager, which we will be getting from the entity manager factory, and which is again nothing but a one of the instance of persistent context. So when we have a em save and then p as a parameter, it will actually bring that entity instance into a cache. There are other ways to do it, like entity manager.persist, entity manager.merge, and we can also check whether any particular entity is available in the cache using entity manager.contains API. So if it is in managed state, this is called as a managed state of entities. If it is managed state or in persistent state, if you do any changes in that particular object now let's use say the person dot age is equals to 49 now. So it will automatically get saved into a database. You don't have to worry about it. But let's say if you want to change something in that particular object, but you don't want to get it saved in database. So what you'll do, you'll do the detach. You detach from the persistent context and then do any operation here. It will not get saved in database. Again, if you want to bring it back, you can use the operation merge. Operation merge you can use here also, from new or transient to managed state, or from detached state to the managed state. So detach and new state are more or less same actually, because it is not associated with persistent contact. We also have got a removed state. So when we are removing anything, it will get removed from the context as well as from database. that record will get removed from the database. So this is how we are understanding how the persistence get managed, or what are the entity states in JPA or Hibernate. So there are two type of transactions in JPA. One is a resource local transaction, which is user managed, in which all those operations are done by the user, and it can only interact with a single data source. It cannot have a multiple data sources, and it is managed using a Java X entity transaction packages. Another is called as the Java Transaction API, which is container managed, in which you don't have to do all those things. It is managed by container. It can have a multiple data sources. It can manage GMS as well, and it is managed through a JavaX user transactions. So this is about the theoretical part. Let's say exactly how it happens in Java, how to write a code for it. So there are two ways. One is writing a EJB for it, or second, we can have a producer technique using CDI. It means we can inject that particular persistence or entity manager in our code. Let's see how. The first thing is creating a EJB. So let's say we are creating a stateless EJB with the annotation stateless, and our class name is public class item. And from the entity manager factory, we are creating an instance EMF, which is getting his factory instance from a object from a class called as persistent create entity manager factory. It should be given a unique name, as we have discussed here, that there should be a unique name given to a persistent unit, which is the whole of this instance. So we are giving the name as a item persistence unit. Then from entity manager factory, we need to create an entity manager, which will be doing all those API functions for us. So we have got a entity manager EM equals to EMF dot create entity manager. So this is how we have got our entity manager, and this entity manager then later will be used for all those operations. So that is the one way, using the EJB, but looks very complex. Let's make it simple. Another way is producer, by injecting entity manager into our code. So let's see how it does. We have one class called as public class entity manager producer. We will have an annotation called as produce. We'll have an annotation that persistent context. What our persistent context will be known as? It will be unit name item PU. As I said, this should be unique name for our persistent unit. And then we'll simply create a private entity manager EM. So when we are using these two annotation, compiler internally does all those job for us and actually create an EM for us. Now using this EM, we can perform all these tasks. So I hope this particular concept is simple enough. And now we are moving to the next practical part, like exactly now what we need to do to create an entity and use an entity manager to persist the state of any object. So to create an entity, we can use a JPA annotation called as @entity. Either we can use the JPA annotation @entity, or we can use the ORM. ORM is the object relational mapping .xml, where we will where all the objects of the class will be declared as an entity, and they will be actually mapped to the respective tables. We got another annotation table. This happens when the name of the class is not same as the table. If it is same as the table, name of the class is same as table, then this particular annotation is not needed. But let's say in database we are following a convention TBL equals to _person, but in Java we are just having a class person. Then we need this mapping. So it's very easy. We will be just declaring a class as usual, and we will implement a serializable interface, because when we were discussing EJB, we realized that when anything is being remotely called, then an interface needs to be implemented, and that interface serve as a API for us. So similarly here, we are having a class which implements serializable, and we will be using its API later. So let's see what are the other annotations are used in the entity class. The first is ID. ID means what variable follows next is actually a primary key for our object and as well as in database. So when we are having a primary key, we need to, if we need to generate its value automatically, then we have to map it with some strategy. Let's say auto. It means this value will be assigned by Hibernate. Or we can have a different kind of strategies like generate type dot sequence, where we can map it with the one sequence object from a database, or identity, like any identity column from database, or any particular table from database from where this value will be fetched. So this is for a simple primary key. If we want to have a composite primary key, then we need to have a one class object here. So this is how we can have a composite primary key. Next is a private string. But if here the attribute name is name, but if it's not same in the as a column in database, let's say in database is name is customer name, here we have got name, then again we will have to map with the annotation called at the rate column, and the name will be a customer name. Then let's say we want to have certain field which we doesn't want to map with the database, with any of the column with the database, then we will call them at we will specify them with the annotation at the rate transient. And let's say we have some private string j comments which will never be saved in database. It can also be achieved by not having a getter and setter for that particular attribute. If we don't have a getter and setter method, then again it will be treated as transient. And there is a one special type of a data type in Java, which is date, because the date in Java is not the same as date in Oracle database or any other data source. So we will have to, HP actually does that mapping. It's called as the impedance gap. HP actually does that mapping, but for that we will have to define it as a temporal, and we will see, as you see that annotation temporal type date has been provided. So this is how we actually create an entity in our Java. So entity, so what we have discussed here is a field-based persistence. The same entity can also be achieved through a property-based persistence, in which we simply just define our integer, string, and all attribute, and we don't actually does any annotation. So annotation part is done in before our getter methods. Let's say at the rate id public int get id. So this is a getter method. So all annotation part is done before a getter. And this is called as a property based persistence, like column, get name, and so on. So here we have created our entity. Let's see how we can use this particular entity with the help of entity manager, so that we can persist it. So let's say we have got a one public class customer master, and using this particular CDI approach, we have created one entity manager, and now we have got a one method, a save customer data, where we are passing all the name and date details which actually required to fill these attributes. So now we have got a one new person, and we are using setter method, setters to actually populate all the values. And finally, with the help of this entity manager, we'll be doing em.persist, that particular object what we want to persist. So this is how we are achieving persistence. And not only persist, we can do all those operations what we have discussed here, like persist, save, merge, detach, merge, remove, contains, and all those can be performed here based on our business logic. So there are actually certain more things, API, which we have not discussed, that detach is possible through detached, or when we even commit our transaction, then also all the object get detached from it, means nothing remains here because everything is committed. And if we clear, then actually all objects get detached. And if we do refresh, then actually all the objects from database get refreshed with the database value. Let's say manually I have done some update here, and if I want to refresh here, then I can use refresh. And if I want to do a find command, like if any customer ID is there, let's say customer ID 123, I want to retrieve the record for customer ID 123, then I will just em.find 123, then it will create another object here whose reference I can receive in my code. So we have understood how to use entity and entity manager here. So there are few more concepts when it comes to like storing a database or storing entities. like validate. For example, we want certain uh, non-nullable columns, and we want some nullable column. There should be some restriction on size. Then how to achieve it? So here is our how to validate. So we can have annotation at the rate not null, and we can have some optional message also, like what to display if that particular validation fails. Then we can say like okay, this is not null and this is for attribute address. Then we can say message address cannot be null. So if this validation fails, this message will be displayed. Similarly, we can have other annotation like null, size, what should be a minimum and maximum size, what is the minimum number, what is the maximum number allowed, what is the digit, like how many integers, how many fractions are allowed, decimal minimum, decimal maximum, future. Let's say if any promotion date, promotion never happens, it always in future, it is carried on by managers. So if you want to ensure that okay, the promotion date is in future, we can use future. If we want to ensure okay, the string follows a regular expression, we can have a pattern. And they have two boolean validation, assert false and assert true. So all those validations are automatically get invoked before we persist our entity. But it can be manually also invoked if through our programs for the whole entity or any particular field whenever we want as per the business logic. So this is about the validation of a beans. Now we come to the query. Like if you want to like now we have talked about like how to persist a data, but like if you what happens if you want to query a data. So query can happen through our entity manager. The query can be static or dynamic. The dynamic query can again have a positional parameter or the name parameters, which we will discuss here. So our entity manager will return query object, which we can typecast using type query and then whatever object we want to typecast. And then again its result can be obtained through a method called as get result list. So here we see the example, like query is equals to em.create query and then select p from table underscore person, where p dot age is our positional parameter question mark 1, or p dot gender equals to again a positional parameter question mark 2. And then since it's a dynamic one, we will be setting it during the runtime. We'll say query dot set parameter, the first positional parameter should be 55 and second should be a female. So this is how positional parameter works. But if let's say a query doesn't have positional parameter, it's got a name parameter like p dot age is as a name, like we have given some variable here, bind variable, then we'll say query dot set parameter is age, bind variable is 55. This is called as the named parameters. So here we have discussed how to create a query, and now the last concept, named queries. It can be a single query, it can be multiple queries, which for an entity we know okay, these are the set queries which can happen for this particular entity. Then we can create the queries and give a name to it when we are creating entity itself, rather than actually doing it inside the code. See, here we are doing inside the code, here we will do outside the code. So like named queries and then entity, named query, the name of the query q1, and then query, whatever the query you want to have. Hint, like we know that to optimize the database, we can provide some hint. We can have a lock mode, like in database we can have various kind of transactions. So what kind of lock mode we want. So this hint and lock mode is actually are optional things. I can go into detail of it, but I will have to add some DBA stuff here. If you want to know, I will explain it in detail. But for now, we will focus on the name and the query. So now we will have our entity public class person, and then query is entity manager dot create named query, and then we will just say q1 because the query we have already defined here on the top of the class itself. And then we will have a set parameter and then get results and so on. So this is this is a video cast for our persistent topic, and if you have any query, please feel free to ask. Thank you.